What is up, everybody? It's Kanan, and welcome back to another video. Now, why am I doing another Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons video? Well, it's because the marriage candidates video done way better than I thought it would. So I figured, why not? I'm actually currently in a big Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons mood, so figured why not. So, couple of announcements before I get into the meat of the video. If you're missing Let's Plays are going to come back hopefully next week because I'm waiting for my capture card. I don't want to do another Let's Play until my capture card gets here. That way I have the whole entire weekend to get it all set up and to make sure it's going to work. Lag is the biggest thing I'm worried about, but hopefully that won't happen. Our Ruby Chibi reactions are coming. We were going to record a bulk of them today, but Jess is feeling a little under the weather. No, it's not you know what. She usually gets sick around this time of year, so when she feels better, we'll record the bulk of it and get them up ASAP. And also, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, all of our subscribers. 400 subscribers is in view. Let's get there very, very soon. Alright, so today's video, if you can tell from the title, is me discussing my top 5 favorite Harvest Moon games and my top 5 least favorite. Pretty much a best to worst video. So please remember, this is just my opinion. If one of the games you hate is on my best list, or if one of the games you love is on my worst list, hey, that's awesome. But don't hate on me for maybe not liking a game that you absolutely love. This is just going based off my personal experiences with these games. All the games are good in certain areas, but there's other areas that some of them just really lacked, and some of them it's just pure nostalgia for me. So alright, let's get into it. Number 5 best. Number 5 on my list for the best games I played is Harvest Moon DS Sunshine Islands. Now, this was really one of the few handheld Harvest Moons I actually really enjoyed. It had the same characters from Island of Happiness, except they made it a better game, and it also had a different story. And the biggest thing in this game that would grab you to keep on playing, for me anyway, wasn't the farming, wasn't the festivals, wasn't the getting married and all that. It was actually finding the sunstones. Pretty much in the game, you start on one island, and as you meet people, as people come to the island, as you discover things, as you get achievements, you would get or find a sunstone. And once you got so many of them, you could use the magic in them to lift islands from underneath the water, and it would create more new areas. So I forgot how many there were, but there was a lot of them. Like, I can't remember exact year that Sunshine Islands come out, but I remember when it came out, I was technically a kid, and I was like, well, finding these sunstones is kind of like hunting for the Dragon Balls. So I would equate it to that I was hunting for the Dragon Balls in a way, because these things were everywhere, under the water, under rocks, you know. I think you even got one if you got married, I think. I never completed Sunshine Islands, but I wanted to like Island of Happiness so much, because I liked the cast of characters that was in it, but I just couldn't, which for reasons I'll get into. But I never completed this because I just I was getting to the point where I didn't have the time to search for every single sunstone, because I don't know if you had to find them all to beat the game, but I'm so OCD when it comes to stuff like that. I was like, I've got to find every single one of these, but it was getting to the point where I was driving myself nuts, so I had to put the game down. Sadly, I never completed it. Hopefully one day I can find a copy and complete it. But yeah, that's why it's number 5 on my best list. Number 5 worst. My number 5 on my worst list is Harvest Moon DS Island of Happiness. And I think anyone who has ever played this game will know why, and that is the controls. I don't know why they thought this was a great idea, but they decide to make every single action you can make in the game solely on the stylus controls. If you wanted to walk, you had to drag the stylus across the screen and hold it until you got to where you were doing. To open your menu, I believe you had to use, like, everything. You had to use the stylus for everything. Now, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that loved using the stylus on the DS. I was not one of them. Now, granted, I did play the game long enough to get used to it, but it just, I don't know. I just did not enjoy this game as much as I wanted to. And I actually, in a way, did enjoy this game, but it just got tiring using those stylus controls for everything. Like, to water plants, you had to click the plant and they would water it. Click the plant, click the cow to I don't know. It killed. If there's any way to have immersion in a Harvest Moon game, it killed the immersion for me. And I mean, that's why it's on my worst list. It's not the worst game in the series, but the stylus controls really, really killed it for me. Number 4 best. Number 4 on my best list is Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people upset because to a lot of people, this is the best Harvest Moon there ever was. Now, and in a way it is, because it done something that to this day no other game in the series has done again, and that is the characters actually aged. Like, once you had a kid, they grew up into adulthood. Your character became old and eventually passed away at the end of the game. And they've never really done that ever since. And I wish they would, because it was a very, very unique thing. I don't necessarily want the main character to die in every single game, but have your kid at least grow up more besides just a walking stage when they're a baby. The cons of this game, really, for me, was the village. I just did not think it was very nice looking. I thought the town in A Wonderful Life was kind of bland. I also didn't really think the villagers were that memorable. The marriage candidates were fine. I think in this one, it was the least amount that had ever been in a game, which was 3. 4 if you count the special edition. We'll get to the special edition here in a second. But I understand why there was only 3. It's because, if they had a lot of them, that was so many different designs and all that they'd have to make. And this was back on the GameCube. So they whittled it down to 3 just because of, this game went through the entire lifetime of people. And I'm guessing having way more marriage candidates would have made it just a little bit more difficult to make them all unique, I'm guessing. But the biggest sour spot in this game, and I'm not really judging, this is not why it's at number 4. This is not at all, but there's a lot of people that judge this game based on the special edition that came out on the PlayStation 2. And the special edition, let's say, it added a lot of cool things. Like, it added an extra marriage candidate and all that. But it was really, really bad. Like, it was very laggy. The frame rate in it was awful. Everything was moving in slow motion for most of the game. It was just awful. And I actually bought the special edition because I wanted to try it on PlayStation 2. And my gosh, whatever they did, like, ooh. If you can ever play this game, play the GameCube version. Let's just say that, because the special edition is just awful. So like I said, the special edition is not why it's just at number 4. It's just that while it was a very unique game, I just didn't enjoy it as much as past games that I had played. Number 4 worst. The number 4 on my worst list goes to the first game on the DS, and that is Harvest Moon DS. Now, this game was very unique in a lot of ways. I mean, it literally lets you marry a mermaid. But the biggest thing that really killed this game was glitches. This game was so glitch heavy that a lot of people just didn't complete it. I would say I kind of completed it. Like, I got married and everything, but I don't know. The game just had so many glitches and bugs that it kind of just killed the game. And a lot of people even commented that the game is just weird in a lot of ways. Like, they set it within the same town as A Wonderful Life and the same cast of characters, though they changed a few things. But yeah, just glitches and bugs is really what made this game not very fun to play. So that's why it's on my worst list and why I don't really have much to say about it. It was just glitchy. Number 3 best. My number 3 favorite and best Harvest Moon game of all time is Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, which originally came out on the Game Boy Advance. Now, to a lot of people, this is the de facto best game in the series. I failed to mention for A Wonderful Life that there was a girl version called Another Wonderful Life where you could play as a female character, and it was the same way with this one. It was called More Friends of Mineral Town where you could play as a female character. This was before they finally decided to give you a option to be a boy or a girl in the games. Back then they would just make a whole different version. Now, Friends of Mineral Town, I've read, was kind of, in a way, kind of a remake of Harvest Moon Back to Nature on the PlayStation 1, though, you know, when you think of remake, you know, PS1 game being remade as a Game Boy Advance game. But it was pretty much because it was the same setting as Back to Nature and the same cast of characters and everything. But Friends of Mineral Town had a lot more open-ended stuff. Like, you could play this game forever. Which, I mean, it's pretty much every game, but like this game just had so many different things in it that a lot of people are still finding stuff they didn't know they could do in it till this day. The reason why it's so low on my list is that I'm just not a huge fan of handheld games. I mean, I like handheld games, but I just prefer console games more. I don't, you know, it's the bigger screen, really. It's mostly just the bigger screen. But I really enjoyed this game. Bought it when it first came out because I was buying anything Harvest Moon back then. I was still in high school when this game came out, and I loved it. You know, I had it opened and playing on my Game Boy the moment I was in the car. You know, I even had the little light attachment on the Game Boy because, you know, back then the Game Boy Advance did not have a backlight, so you had to buy these attachments to shine a light down on it so you could see in the car. So yeah, really, it's one of the best games just because of how open-ended it is. Like, it's just, there's so many possibilities. Like, you can literally not do anything in the game and it'll continue, you know? Where games before that had kind of like a time limit. Like, you had to make the farm profitable in like 2 or 3 years, you know? So, but anyway, yeah, Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, great game. Number 3 worst. My number 3 on my worst list is Harvest Moon Magical Melody. And to tell you the truth, there's a lot of people that love this game and a lot of people that played it when it got re-released for the Wii. But I just did not like this game. I don't know if it was like, I don't know if it was the chibi designs, and which I usually like chibi characters, you know. I don't know. The game just moved really slow for me, and one thing I really didn't like about it is it seemed like no matter what plot of land you picked, like you just didn't have enough land, and the farms just looked bad. Like, it was, I don't know what it was about this game, but I just think nothing looked that great about it, even on the GameCube. And I mean, I trudged through it. I played it for several of in-game years, you know, getting married, having a kid and all that. But I mean, collecting the musical notes was fun, but that just wasn't enough to save this game for me. Like, it's just not one of my favorites, so I don't have a lot of nice or really even bad things to say about it. It was just, yeah, you know, that's really all I can say about it. Number 2 best. My number 2 favorite Harvest Moon game, and what I consider one of the best games in the series, is Harvest Moon Back to Nature on the PlayStation 1. This is really the game that got me into the Harvest Moon series. And I'm going to tell you guys a quick story, because I don't think I've told this one. I don't think I've told it in my Stardew Valley playthroughs or anything. So I discovered Harvest Moon in an old Nintendo Power magazine that I had. Who else misses Nintendo Power? I know I do. And in this issue, they pretty much had a little mini guide for Harvest Moon 64, and I fell in love with the concept of this game. I don't know why. The farming, the festivals, the getting married and having kids, just all the stuff you could do in it. I found this game interesting. So I remember begging my dad to take me out to the mall to where EB Games was, back when it was EB Games, before GameStop bought them out. And this was back in the day when PlayStation 1 games and all that were still on the walls. Boy, I'm really aging myself. I think I was still in middle school when this happened. And we went there, and there was no Harvest Moon 64, but there was Harvest Moon Back to Nature. Picked it up, looked at the back, and it pretty much looked like the exact same thing. Like, it used almost the exact same graphics engine. And I was like, yeah, this is it. Because I had a PlayStation 1, and I preferred the PlayStation 1, to tell you the truth. And that was it. Like, I played this game for so long. I don't know how many years I got into it, but it was a lot. And yeah, like, everything about Back to Nature just brings back so much nostalgia for me. Like, whether I see some old gameplay of it, or even if I listen to some of the music, it just brings back so many memories. And a funny story about this game. When I was in middle school, I was getting ready for school. So this was like around 7:30 in the morning. Because we had to be at school by 8:05, because that's when the final bell would ring. And my brother had come over for some reason. I forgot what he was there for. And my brother is the type, he always asks me 20 questions when it comes to when I get new video games. He used to do that anyway. Like, it always used to drive me crazy. Like, on Christmas Day, I'd get a new game, and of course I want to play it, and I'd be playing it, and he'd come over for Christmas dinner. He'd come in my room and be like, hey, what's that? Did you get that today? And I'm like, yeah. And I tell him what it is. And he's like, oh, can I play? Like, still, like, my older brother is so many years older than me, and he was still being like the annoying older sibling who wants to play with all your new stuff, on the very day you get it. So I was always like, no, you can't play, I'm playing, and he's still like that kind of to this day. So I was getting ready, and he picked it up, and he was like, well, what's this? I told him what it was. It was like a little farming game that I got, and he was like, well, can I play? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm about to go to school, so he sits down and starts playing it. And remember, this was like at 7:30 in the morning. I leave to go to school. I come back after school after 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. He is still at the house playing that game. He got hooked. He was playing that game all day, to the point where I remember when when A Wonderful Life came out, he got it before I did. And he's calling me, hey, how do I feed my cows? They're starving. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the game yet. So, yeah, for a while, I turned my brother into a Harvest Moon fan because of this game. Yeah, like, if I could find a copy of it on the PlayStation 1, I'd probably rebuy it. It is such a great game. Like, to this day, like, because of this game and Friends of Mineral Town is my favorite village in Harvest Moon. It's my favorite cast of characters. Great soundtrack. I think it's got, still to this day, one of the best soundtracks in the series. And yeah, that is why it's my number 2. Number 2 worst. My number 2 worst game in the series is actually the first game for the 3DS, and that is Harvest Moon 3D: A New Beginning. This game had so many tutorials that it just ruined the game for me, and it had one of the worst slow starts of a game I have ever seen. Like, I just could not get into this game. I was bored stiff in this game. Also, I'm not very good at designing villages. I don't know, like, I would be an awful game developer because I just don't, like, and it's weird. I consider myself a very imaginative person. Now, designing a farm, I'm fine with, which is why I think I'll be fine with Pioneers of Olive Town, but designing the whole entire village, I just couldn't get into it. So yeah, that's really, like, I didn't play this game much because I just found it, like, I'm used to Harvest Moon games being a grind, because they always are, but this game, I just couldn't get into it because there was so many tutorials. Like, it was tutorial this, tutorial that, tutorial this. And it just had such a slow start. There was barely much you could do at first until people moved in. So yeah, this game was kind of just dead on arrival for me. I just didn't like it at all. If you did enjoy it, I'm glad you did, but I just, yeah. Number 1 worst. Alright, I didn't want to end this video on a bad note, so I'm doing the number 1 worst before I do the number 1 best. The worst game to me in this series is Harvest Moon Save the Homeland. And it's really heartbreaking because I remember when this game came out and I was so excited for a Harvest Moon game on the PlayStation 2 because, you know, Back to Nature just set the bar up for me so much that I was like, I can't wait for this. And oh my gosh, this game was so bare bones. Like, it had like 16 different endings, but the thing is, you only played for like 1 year, I believe. There was no festivals, you couldn't get married, no having kids. The farm was very, very basic. The farming itself was very, very basic. Like, at least in other series, you could, like, you know, add fertilizer or, you know, do this, do that. This, it was simply take care of your animals, milk them, water your plants. That's it. That's was, you know, and for some reason you could upgrade your house in this game, and like, but I don't see why, because you couldn't get married, you know, like, and I don't know, this game just had so much. In this day and age, people would say this game had cut content because it just was missing the content that so many Harvest Moon games usually have, and it was sad. Like, I remember being so disappointed with this game because it was just very bare bones. Like, there wasn't much to it, and it was heartbreaking. I was like, oh my gosh, where's all the features that were in Back to Nature? Why'd they take it all out? But pretty much you had to save the whole entire village from being turned into an amusement park, I believe, and like, you had a year to do it. And like, they had all these different endings you could achieve by getting close to certain villagers. And in some of them, it would end with you and one of the girls of the village, you know, kissing or something because you fell in love during the events of the ending. And then it just restarted. Like, it would restart you and you'd have to achieve a different ending, you know. And I don't know. To me, that just didn't belong in Harvest Moon. So yeah, that is why to this day it's still my least favorite game in the series, just because it was very, very unremarkable. Number 1 best. And my number 1 best and favorite game in the series so far is Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. Now, yes, I know this is a remake of the original Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, but to me, this game just did things better than the original. It's still very open-ended. You can do whatever you want to. It pretty much combines Friends of Mineral Town and more Friends of Mineral Town by giving you the option to be male or female. And it was funny, they kept the 2 classic designs for the male and female farmer, but then they had 2 new designs if you wanted to use newer characters. Same old Mineral Town. The character designs were changed. They did change the way the characters look. And yeah, my one thing I didn't like is that they went with a chibi style, but hey, it's fine. I looked around it. Like, they changed the soundtrack for most part, but like, they still kept some of the original songs. Like, when you walk through actual Mineral Town, it still has its same old theme song, which I absolutely loved. It's one of the most iconic theme songs in my opinion. They added some new animals, like you can have rabbits, you can have llamas, you can even have different styles of cows, like you can have a coffee cow, a fruit cow. There's now white and brown chickens. And like the biggest new thing they did put in it was, of course, same-sex marriage. You can now marry any of the bachelors or bachelorettes, no matter if you're playing as a boy or a girl, which is, you know, always great to include. And I mean, I've been playing the game almost nonstop. Well, not really nonstop. I did quit for a little bit, because that's the thing about Harvest Moon games / Story of Seasons, that you have to take a break every now and then, or you're going to get very burnt out. But I'm in year 3 of my main playthrough. I married Karen, because Karen has always been the best girl to me from Mineral Town. And yeah, this game, like this remake, just did so much better for me than the original. And of course, it's on the Switch, so I can play it on the television, or, you know, if I'm like at work, or if we're traveling, I can play it on the as a handheld, even though I do prefer on the television. But yeah, this game just done everything for me. Like, it reignited my love for Story of Seasons, you know, formerly known as Harvest Moon, because after A New Beginning, I didn't really pick up any of the, like, I didn't play any of the Harvest Moon games for a while. Whether it be Natsume's games, or when it got rebranded in the Story of Seasons. I literally came back to this series because of Friends of Mineral Town, because that was one of my all-time favorite games, because it's pretty much back to nature as well. So yeah, if I would suggest anyone playing a game to get into this series, it would be Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town on the Switch. It's also on PC. It's the first game to be on PC, so if you don't have a Switch, you can play it on that. And yeah, so that is my top 5 and top worst Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons games. Technically, the series is now known as Story of Seasons, but you guys know what I mean. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed doing it. I'm going to be doing more Story of Season videos leading up to Pioneers of Olive Town coming out, because I do plan to do a Let's Play of that game. And leading up to it, I may do some Let's Plays of Friends of Mineral Town. Like I said, just depends on if the capture card comes on time and if everything goes alright, because I'm waiting on that to get here. It's supposed to be here Friday. I've got a second monitor ready to go, so we should be good to go. I just hope no lag, please. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, click that like button. If you want to support us on Patreon, the link is down in the description. If not, hey, subscribing is just as good. We're getting very close to 350 subscribers, and 400 subscribers is on the horizon. Let's hit that. Let's hit 500 subs this year, and hopefully be on the way to 1,000 by the time the year is over with. As always, guys, this is Kanan. I love you all very, very much. Jess does too. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Play some games. Stay warm. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.